Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Leo. How's it going, buddy?
I'm very well, my friend. Very well. It's like blue skies here, like not a cloud in the sky, nice and warm. I just dropped Sadie at nursery and people were jumping in the sea willy-nilly. Yeah, it was good energy here today. How about you?
That's fab. Yeah, for once, the past 3 days have been absolutely disgusting in Barcelona, as in so hot that when you walk out into the street, 3 days ago, I was sleeping still with my spring comforter, And then all of a sudden, I woke up one morning and it was just sticky. So it has been, you walk outside and you're just dripping in sweat and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think the universe is finally giving us a bit of reprieve because today it is cloudy. I'm really hoping it's going to rain because the last few days it has been one of those, if it doesn't rain soon, the earth is going to melt. So let's hope it rains.
I love the difference there that I'm celebrating a bit of sunshine and you're celebrating a bit of cloud. Doesn't that show you everything know about humans?
Yeah, you want some clouds in the summertime. It's been too hot the last few days. So.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm coming to see you. It's a couple of days till I get on the plane and come and see you. Anyone that's not joining us on June 19th for the Scale Truvy Good Morning Hospitality meetup, why aren't you? Come on, come and see us. And Sarah, I have to say that it has been, I think, probably 3 months since we've been in person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? We speak every week. So I'm very excited to do this. Tell me, I assume I need to pack next to nothing, right? Just a spare pair of pants and a t-shirt and I'll be good to go, right?
Yeah. And maybe your swimmers. It's really, really hot. So take advantage. I don't know how far away you're staying from the beach, but you did promise to do plunges. It's not going to be a cold plunge, but it'll be a plunge.
I can't wait. Yeah, no, I think so. I'm there 2 days, and I think I can probably get 3 swims in. That'll be my challenge. I picked when I was plotting my hotel. I was on one of the OTAs that I picked because it has all of the accommodation, which we can talk about maybe in buying patterns and some other guys later. And I was tactically looking at where's the bar for the event, where's my office because it's a new office in Barcelona that I've not been to, where's the sea. And how do I triangulate all of those things? So I've picked. I'm in Bourne. I'm somewhere in Bourne. So I'll be able to jog to the seafront, have a swim, and jog back. So I can't wait. But on the subject of exercise, we were texting. We were sort of WhatsApping a bit in the week. How is the lifting going?
It's going quite well. So to clarify for our audience, I do not go to the gym at all because I hate the gym. I realized that after I joined for another 6 months and tried to do things that I hated every day. I am a at-home workout galley. So I got online and ordered a bunch of weights. I started with a nutritionist and she was like, what kind of exercise are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm running and I'm doing Pilates and lifting 1 kilogram weights. And she was like, yeah, that's not going to work. She's like, you need to be lifting. So yeah, completely new workout routine. I'm actually loving it. I'm eating breakfast for the first time in my life, which is crazy. I've never done that before. But after trying to do strict training in the morning.
Before or after the workout?
So both. So I've normally I used to always fast. So I would wake up and I would be completely fasting from the night before until basically lunch every day. So I was doing basically 16-8, but I'd always kind of done it naturally. It wasn't on purpose necessarily. It was just I wasn't hungry when I woke up. And I was doing exercise that was strenuous cardiovascularly, I guess that's a word, but not in terms of strength. And so, yeah, when I started doing strength training, I was one morning I almost passed out. It's I can't lift this. This is crazy. So I talked to my nutritionist. She's like, yeah, you probably should have something. So even if it's like a little teeny bit of I do like a half a scoop of protein powder with some almond milk. And then that is enough to get me through my workout. And then like immediately after my workout, I could eat a horse. So I have breakfast like right afterwards, which I've never done before. So it's crazy.
Oh.
But yeah, going really well. I'm like, I don't know, going up in weights and stuff. And then the cardio, basically, she's had me swap that out for one day, rather than like running, one day it's like HIIT stuff. And then the other day it's something called SIT, which is sprint interval training. Man, that'll get you. It sounds so easy. You're like, this is great. You go basically, so I do it outside. And basically I just find this long like avenue, hope that I time the traffic lights right, because sometimes you don't always get that right. And I basically just like sprint at top speed. People think I'm crazy for 30 seconds. And then you stop and you just completely cool down for like 2 to 3 minutes. And then you do it again. And at first, my trainer was like, yeah, you can probably get through like max 5 rounds of those. Once you're like a professional, the first few times you might get through 2 or 3. And I was like, joke, like, come on, 30 seconds. Who can't do 30 seconds? Yeah, no, not a joke. So I'm now up to 4 rounds of that, but the 4th round it's a struggle. And I'm definitely not like full out sprinting on the 4th round. I'm just like trying to get through it. So yeah.
I love this. Sarah, I love this. How do you feel about exercising with me in Barcelona? Is that a yes for you, or is that a hard no?
I don't really care. I work out of my house, so I mean, I've been
looking for an invite. I mean, to be honest, I've been trying to get an invite for years. So if this is what it takes, then good. Okay, perfect. Probably have just paid for a hotel, right? What a waste of time.
Yeah, come on. What are you doing?
Okay, so great. Well, look, we got to get into it. We could talk all day about exercise, but that's a whole nother spin-off show we need to do. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Leo Walton, and this is my very esteemed co-host, Sarah Nan Dupree, and we are Good Morning Hospitality Europe. Sarah, you've got the first one for us. What's happening today? Some good news from Italy, right?
Finally, some good news from Italy. So this is interesting. We talked about this one back in November and got on our soapboxes about it when essentially the Italian courts ruled that self-check-ins were no longer going to be allowed. So they were going to have to all be in person, which obviously bad enough for a hotel that maybe has the staff and they're ready for that. But for short-term rentals, I mean, that can be detrimental to someone's business, particularly if it's like a small business. So yeah, that was something that luckily, great example of short-term rental industry leaders and associations kind of banding together. So I'm trying to find the name of the association. Here we go. So it's called FARE, F-A-R-E, which is an Italian short-term rental industry federation. And essentially they took this back to court and said, hey, this isn't fair. This is going to ruin our business. And it goes in direct contrast to a law that was passed earlier in the year, which was the electronic registration of all guests. So it was completely counterintuitive. It was like, we can't do electronic check-ins, but we have to submit all the documentation electronically for all the guests. This doesn't make sense. And yeah, I'm pleased to announce that earlier this week, it was overturned. So yeah. Basically now, the Italian courts have given the Italian Short-Term Rental Association FARE basically said, yes, you're right. This does violate the original rule. It's counterintuitive to what we're trying to promote, which is more transparency, ease of use, and better electronic records of people who are coming and visiting. And so, yeah, it's really great news for Italian hosts. And I think especially, yeah, as I said, like this for me was a win for our industry and for showing that I think a lot of times we think that we can't make changes because, well, I'm just one host and I just have a couple of properties. But it's so important to join your local association because it can have a huge impact on your business and our ability to band together. So that was some great news for me this week.
A real short-term rental highlight. We've had a lot of lowlights of late, so it's cool to have a proper highlight. It's autumn. I think all we want is parity, right, with other lodging types. So if there needs to be a tax imposed because you feel like you need to stimulate something in the economy, maybe like the building of new neighborhoods, or you need to raise tax to put people off because an area is becoming overcrowded, you tax the cruise ships, the hotels, the short-term, proportionate fair taxing, also just revenue raising. Why shouldn't a city benefit from all the people walking around treading on its lovely pavements all day, every day, right? Like it's smart business. We appreciate that. But what we don't want is something that's unequal, right? So like, don't use something I don't think it's right to start banning something which ultimately makes running a business easier and more cost effective for the operator. And as a consequence, gives a hotel an advantage because they have people on site that can let people in. So yeah, it's great. It's a no-brainer. And again, like I say, I think that it's about, as an industry, I think we cannot turn our back on genuine issues that need to be solved. We have to be at the table. So this use of like local groups, in this case, FAIR, and obviously I'm involved with the short-term rental association, the STAA in the UK, and we've had Andy on the show. You have to engage with policymakers. But then you were able to fight and say, well, look, if we're talking about a registration scheme to make sure all operators pay tax, that's completely fair. Who wouldn't want that? But if you're talking about something like that's highly detrimental to their business, come on, it's not common sense. So it's really good to see. It's really good to see. I've got to highlight, now we know, and we're smiling at this one, we know that everybody around the industry will be talking about this one. So we're not going to talk about it for long. But we couldn't not just mention it briefly because it's quite funny, maybe, and also controversial, but maybe slightly amusing. Airbnb accused of poaching tour guides from rival platforms to grow experiences. Canada-based Tours by Locals and Netherlands-based With Locals said separately, this is really interesting, that people with Airbnb email addresses created accounts on their sites and then violated their T's and C's by messaging tour guides to try and recruit them for Airbnb experiences. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Now, as a vegetarian, I don't like poaching of any kind. So that I'm always going to be against that. But it also feels like slightly desperate, I guess, to me. It feels like we're talking about experiences being the great new shiny thing. Brian Chesky said on numerous occasions he wants to build $1 billion business a year. Scraping existing experiences doesn't feel like $1 billion business to me. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. What it seems like to me is it's a play to get more inventory, which again goes after like the we want to be Amazon theory, right? So I think he's trying to build a new Amazon much more than build something that's actually net new. I think it's about stealing supply.
Yeah.
So
I also think
I don't know, that was a bit disappointing to me.
Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? Because I think that also what's disappointing about it is at its sort of worst, Airbnb is accused of stifling fair and free competition, and trying to create closed walls. It doesn't give its suppliers any access to the guest. It limits their ability to contact them, have their proper bits of information. It's we've gone on this journey so slowly from the marketing agency that helped you get your guest working for you, all the way to you working for the marketing agency that gets your guest. And there's, you're doing all the work, and they're seemingly owning the entire bit of the experience. So there's already that, and we can go into the fact that which we've talked about in previous weeks, and we'll talk about again, the fact that they're trying to do more in-stay and control your guest, and what's the liabilities there? Like, what does your insurance do if a chef falls over that you never even allowed a chef to come into the home in the first place? But on this particular point, I just don't think it does them any favors, because it implies that they are trying to aggressively go after a market and not particularly paying fair, and it isn't a very good look. So yeah, not a great day for Airbnb, let's say.
I do have a healthy dose of cynicism, though, and not to bring out a conspiracy theory, but do you really think they were stupid enough to do it on purpose and use their Airbnb emails? That's the one bit that I'm not sure about. Because like, if you're Airbnb and you're actually trying to poach people, like, you use your Gmail or create a new email or something. You don't reach out with your Airbnb email. So that's the one bit of this piece of news that has me skeptical about its authenticity. I'll just leave it there.
No, don't leave it there, because I actually was thinking the same thing, but I came at it from a different view, which was like, so what I was going to say was, if you're going to be stealthy, be properly stealthy. Don't use your bloody email address. So I think this proves to me that you've got Airbnb trying to act like a disruptive startup, and they're not a disruptive startup. So you probably can't even, like, they're such a big company now, you probably can't even use your personal email officially to do anything like that. If, you're probably not allowed to use your personal email to conduct work for Airbnb. It's probably written into your contract, so like that's the daft thing, that they're not in startup mode, really. They're not in stealth mode where you've got a few interns and a few founders going, what can we do? We're kind of going to slightly skirt around things because we're going to be this small insignificant player that no one knows who we are. Like, it's, yeah, so that's what I thought. You came at it from the point of it as conspiracy theory. I came at it from the point of that just says it all. You need to be better than that. You need to, like, use marketing channels to tempt people to come and list on your platform, right? Like, good old fashioned marketing. Spend money on marketing and prove concept that it's a good place to come and list your experiences. It's, it's
use incentives. Like, hey, your first 5 bookings are free or something, like your first booking commission free, whatever. I don't know. Use some other kind of incentives. And they have the marketing arm to get the word out, right? Like, if you're a tour operator and you're thinking about, or a service provider, you're thinking about listing on Airbnb, right? And, you would. It's not like they don't have the press about it to attract people. And I think their inbound engine is going to be much more effective, potentially.
Surely you can cover more ground. Surely you can cover more ground that way. But who knows? Okay. Well, look, we've given them a wrap on the knuckles there. Let's stop jumping on them now. I'm sure they're going to get jumped all over this week, and it's another week where Airbnb get talked about. So maybe they don't care. Also, I was thinking for the tour operators that are referenced in the article, absolutely brilliant time to capitalize on that, because I'd never heard of either of those businesses, and now they're being talked about generally. So a good press day for their PR teams too, I would suspect. Okay, that's my cynicism. Let's move on to the main articles for today. I'm going to get to talk about something that we love talking about in Europe. And Sarah found this article, and I said I've got to lead on this one, because we find ourselves the whole time talking about the strategy, the M&A strategy of Holidu and HomeToGo, the two big powerhouse companies based in Germany in the space that are doing wonderful things. So it's a great article here from Rental Scale Up by Thibaut Masson. The article explores how both businesses, so HomeToGo and Holidu, are pursuing a multi-tiered acquisition strategy with a plan to dominate Europe's short-term rental market, but not by going big, but by going local in the most part. And that's what we've noticed. So every week on the pod, it feels like we're talking about another acquisition. For example, we had HomeToGo with the very, very large Interhome 40,000 listing. They bought Interhome, traditional 40,000 listing property management company. Most of them are slightly smaller than that. So recently we had Finca You weren't here, actually. I probably mispronounced it. I said Finca Mallorca. Is that right? Finca Mallorca?
Yeah, Finca Mallorca. Yeah.
Perfect. That was one of them. Thank you very much. And then a German one, which neither of us speak German, so I'll butcher the pronunciation of this. Kurzmalvac, which is for German weekend escapes. And then most recently, the one that we talked about last week, which was Cyvasion, which is Jeets.com, Jeets.fr, and a short-term rental platform as well, which the name escapes me now. They seem to be going, and this is what I liked about the article, is it's what we talk about. They like to go and take markets that they feel have a really good existing guest flow. So people trust these websites. They're buying websites which people may have been using for 20 years. And what they're doing is they're keeping those brands alive. So they're not just trying to put them all under one roof. They're keeping them alive. But what they're doing is at the back end, they're providing better booking systems, AI pricing and availability tools. They're also syndicating them in the sense that they're also putting them on other OTAs. And a lot of this inventory, as we know, is unique. Not all of it, but a lot of it. They're putting them on other OTAs. They're putting them on their own platform. They're also giving them access to things like their PMSs. So it's allowing them to, I guess the play is, they're going to places that, and this is what it says in the article, I think this is right, Airbnb and Booking.com are not looking in these places for growth. And they have to have everything under their umbrella. They're just looking for the supply and they haven't got the interest in going down to this local level. But what they do is what HomeToGo and Holidu seemingly are doing is they're buying these brands that gives them a front-end guest journey that they're a new guest that they're buying and bringing into their ecosystem, and a new property at the same time that they're potentially bringing into their ecosystem. And I think it's very cool. And obviously in these days of AI and machine learning as well, they're able to then understand more about these rural French markets that potentially Airbnb, Booking.com and Vrbo don't even understand, right? Because they haven't got enough supply in these traditional holiday markets to say with any authority what the pricing should be, what the seasonal trends can be. And so again, we talk about this a lot, so it was kind of, we felt we had to talk about it today when we read the article. It is going to the market, finding the supply that everyone else seems to have forgotten about, bringing it in, and then leveraging it, putting it in more places, and having the understanding of what that part of the market wants, so you can then go and get more of that type of supply. And I think it's cool. I think it's a cool strategy. Sarah, what do you think?
I think it's a cool strategy as well. I like the fact that it's finally some unique inventory. I think for a while, a lot of the big companies have been kind of stuck. So unless somebody has a brand new property, it's really hard to get new inventory that's existing. Because by the time, everyone's heard of the big OTAs. So like if you're not listing on one of those, probably a reason for it. Or maybe you just want to deal with somebody that's local that's going to be super nice to you. And like I feel like the customer service angle for the host is also really important, and something that I hope they can kind of keep up with, because I think with a lot of these acquisitions, the reason that people stick with an OTA is the service that they ultimately get from them. And I think a lot of times the bigger you go, that can be lost. We talk about this all the time with property management as well. So it's not just exclusive to the OTAs. But yeah, I think it's a really cool and interesting strategy. And I like the fact that it's basically bringing a lot of inventory that maybe traditionally, I always think of my parents, right? When I think of these acquisitions, they still book the same place every year. And they used to book it through a catalog, and there's no online, they don't go on Airbnb, they don't go on an OTA. They ring up Edisto Realty and they're like, hey, what do y'all have for this week? And as soon as they leave one year, they book it for the next year. And so there's so much inventory that never goes on an OTA. I think that's the component that I'm interested to see kind of how that transitions, because obviously in some of these acquisitions, like a lot of that inventory is at least on some sort of OTA, if you want to call it that. But I think the big move would be for them to get access to properties that maybe still aren't even on any listing site. I think that is the untapped market, especially in a lot of places that are much more traditional, rural, whatever. So I'm curious to see if there's any movement in that space. I don't know how big the market is, but I know, like at least where I come from in South Carolina, there's at least a percentage of the market that is still not online. It's not happening online. Things aren't happening online. Like my mom mails a check because, it's the 1980s. So
who's the who's the company? So you mentioned them earlier.
It's called Edisto Realty. It's Edisto Realty. It's because it's Edisto Island in South Carolina, and there's one bridge in, and there's one supermarket. There's a Piggly Wiggly right when you get on the island, and there's not much else. And it's a fabulous place. They have a bunch of turtles that come and nest and lay their eggs. And so there's always a complete blackout at night. So you're not allowed to have any porch lights on at dark, because it can disturb the hatching of the turtles. And so most incredible starlit evenings you've ever seen. It's wonderful. Anyway.
There you go. Edisto Realty. Who thought that would get a shout out on Good Morning Hospitality?
I know.
There you go. Hope they're listening.
Are these people?
If you're listening, if you're listening, good on you. I agree. They're going to the hard to reach places and trying to find that. It's so smart, right? Let's find a guest that already books here. Let's keep the brand alive, but let's plug in a better booking system, AI powered search in the back end. Let's syndicate it, pull it into our own listing sites. So I agree. I think we will continue through the year to find both of them. It seems Holidu are doing more than HomeToGo at the moment. Well, I think we'll continue to see both of them making these small acquisitions to go and find these places that, although they will be online, we're not giving the completely offline example, but getting these niche sites because their bet right now is it's better to find something that is less present online than find the huge volume, because actually that volume is probably already on Airbnb, Booking.com in some way, shape, or form. So again, I think it's not necessarily a prediction because it's already happening. I'm just spotting a trend. I'm not predicting what will happen. I think the trend should continue of we're picking up management companies, as HomeToGo did in that case, to really own that supply, but then also those local OTAs. Listeners in Europe, tell us who else you book with. Where are you going to book your holidays? Like what we quite like here is is that I've talked before about the forest holidays and cottages and things in the woods. We're actually going camping this weekend. I think that's still very fractured as a market in the UK, and I think that I know Waze have had a look at that across the UK, but no one kind of owns that space as well. So yeah, I think there is if they were looking at the UK market, I wonder if there's holiday cottages in the woods that could also be an option, because I bet a lot of that stuff is not on the traditional OTA. And we both like this merging of the industry we always have, right? This idea that I actually, when I'm looking on the map, I would love to see alongside the Airbnb that's available, the Booking.com that's available on their map search, the hotel. I'd love to see that there's actually a forest. There's cottages I keep saying the word cottage, I'm saying the wrong word, cabin. There's cabins in the forest round the corner. I also want to see that on the same map search, because you might be going there for a random reason, but you go, hold on, why don't we have 3 days in this cabin? Cool, we'll drive in there and we'll do it. So I love it as a coming together, which is why I do like the Holidu and HomeToGo strategy, because I think ultimately they're trying to put flags on the map in as many different places as possible, and then intelligently find that guest and draw them into their ecosystem. And once they're there, I'm sure they have a very, very, very large email retargeting team that tries to keep them in that ecosystem and book time and time again. Yeah, again, I think they're cool brands.
Yeah, me too. Let's see where it goes.
Sarah, my friend, we can't not talk about AI. It's everywhere, isn't it?
We have to talk about AI. I'm actually starting to get excited about some of the capabilities. A couple of months ago, I was like, no way. And it's every news article that comes out with new features, I'm getting more excited. So in particular, this is an article from FocusWire. And it's how AI is quietly transforming the vacation rental industry. There's a lot of call outs in this article. Red Awning, for example, starting to use AI to help their guest find the right match. So a guest can come in and say, hey, I have, it's my wife and myself, and we have 3 kids, and we want to be within 2 miles of a grocery store, and we want to be within a 15-minute drive of this. And my kids like to play ping pong, and I don't want a pool because, we had something very, very, very specific. And it'll basically provide, okay, these are the top properties. There's another really interesting one that I had never thought about, but with Bestie AI. So they have basically been growing right alongside Hosts and Stays. So it's one of their key customers, and they've pretty much been adapting alongside them and using their clients kind of as guinea pigs. But one of the most frequent questions is to do with late checkout and early check-in. And so they now have like a tag in their database for every single property, of Host and Stay in this case, that has this on offer. And then it also is it's able to like cross-reference. So, okay, this property has this available, and also there's not a booking ahead of you for your dates of stay. So it's likely that they'll say yes, which I thought was really cool. And I think as well, I don't know, when I was looking, I rented a big villa for my birthday with some friends, and I'm stoked about it. There's gonna be like 16 of us, and we rented a massive villa in the middle of nowhere, like an hour outside of Barcelona with a pool and everything like that.
Can't wait to get the invite in the post. You must have sent it already, right? I
just
can't wait.
There's an extra bed. You'll be in the singles room, because there's like all of these houses. So here's my other problem. Finding that house was an absolute nightmare, because you don't just have to look at the house and how many people it sleeps. You have to also look at the bed situation, because there were several where you're like, this is fabulous, but we're 16 adults. And so it says it sleeps 24. Okay, but 10 of those are in bunk beds all in a room together, because it's obviously made for the kids, right? Which is totally fine. But I would love to have been able to filter that out or have some sort of tag, which was like, we're 16 adults traveling, and put in, okay, by the way, there's 4 couples, so we need 4 double rooms. And then the rest of them we can put in groups of like, okay, I've got 2 girls that can go in here and 2 of my guy friends that can go in here. Like that kind of stuff for me was an absolute nightmare trying to figure it out. And some of the listings don't even have like the beds and all that kind of stuff. So to be able to put in, hey, here are the room assignments, find me something that works for this, but has these features. Oh man, it would have been great. I can't tell you how many hours. I must have spent at least, kid you not, 30 hours trying to find that property.
Wow.
And then you got to look on
each year on Earth, Sarah.
Yeah, well, next year I know the one that we want, and I had already tried to reserve it, and also disaster. So the booking went through on Vrbo, and I thought it was odd because I had found it on Airbnb and on Booking.com, and it was not available for my dates of stay on either one of those. But I thought, wow, maybe they're just mad at those 2 OTAs. And so I booked it on Vrbo, and like immediately got a message on WhatsApp from the host being like, "Hey, you just booked on Vrbo." And I was thinking, yes, I did. And she was like, "I'm really sorry. I don't know how that was possible. It's actually not available for your dates of stay for a different weekend." And I'm like, no. So no, next year we'll do it maybe in advance. I don't know if we'll do it again next year, to be honest. Like this will be my 35th. And I do it with one of my girlfriends. So her birthday's in August, which of course sucks because nobody's around in August. And mine's on the 10th of September. So we always just kind of combine and do something in early September together, which is great. So I don't know if we'll do something this big next year because it's not one of the big ones, but yeah.
I love it.
It'll be,
I love it. Well,
I
think you've talked about the idea as well of when you've got people booking a big trip like that, a big group trip. It's also great if the group can communicate with each other about said trip, right, and ask questions as well. So I think we're just scratching the surface in terms of what the AI is going to allow people to be able to do. I always go back to, I think I mentioned this to you a few months ago when we talked AI, that I had a contact of ours, Jody Sterling, STR hospitality community leader. She was living in the Cotswolds, 17 properties, moved back to her native Australia, and still manages to run her business without a full-time VA because she uses AI to ask all those questions. So like if she's dealing with a Sarah Nan Dupree trying to book one of her properties, the AI can answer most of those questions around like, so what's the setup in this bedroom? What's set up in that? And it can do that. And then she'll wake up in the morning and she'll see if there's any code reds where they've had to escalate stuff. And usually there isn't. And I think that's incredibly cool. As a general point, property management has a reputation as being a very tough industry with high levels of burnout. And what I like about the talk around AI is that it's saying, look, complex AI workflow models can be established, scalable, repeatable, to liberate you from the real challenging, mundane parts of it, to hopefully free you up to do what it is that you might be really good at. It might be delighting your guests in the case of people that really focus on that. It might be acquiring more properties in the case of people that are real estate guys that don't really love the day-to-day nitty-gritty of it. And so that's what I think is very cool, because what I always hear is that 20% management fee doesn't get very far in a really ops heavy environment. AI could be about to disrupt all of that, right? And what they want is that happy guest, right? They want you, Sarah, to have had as many conversations with them before you arrive. But every time they talk to you, and if it's them having those conversations, their profits walking out the door, right? It could be something else they're doing. So if they can be liberated from that to focus on acquisition or focus on, styling interiors, whatever it is they want to work on, then I'm all for it. I think it's very exciting.
I'll challenge you on that. I don't really want to speak to my host. In fact, like the more questions they ask, when we were booking this one, for example, like we asked one question about, because it wasn't clear on the listing. It said check-in is at 11 p.m. and check-out is at 11 p.m. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So we contacted to be sure. And of course, because we had contacted, then it was like, oh, and what are you doing? Oh, are you having a party? Do you plan to have music during the day or in the evening? Yes, we're renting a villa in the middle of nowhere, but you can't say that to Joseph because you don't want him to not accept your booking. So I don't know. I think for me, it was really important to have the clarity in the listing. And that also is going to save a lot of time, because otherwise we wouldn't have had to contact Joseph if he had looked at the listing.
Well, look, if you're listening, I know Sarah's responsible. She's usually in bed by 10, especially on her birthday. That's when she's most mild and tame.
Yeah,
actually.
I don't have any friends who are
Nothing to
DJs or anything. It'll be fine. No.
Nothing to worry about. I know. Look, I can't wait to get my invitation in the post to Sarah's birthday hoopla. All right, gang. I think that's all we got time for. Sarah, so nice to see you. Enjoy your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in person very, very soon.
Thanks again for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you, Leo, next week in person. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please hit like, share, subscribe on all of your favorite social channels. Until next time.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.